Hey guys, Jamie Ivey here. I'm the host of the podcast, The Happy Hour, Jamie Ivey, and I just sat down with my friend Elizabeth, and we chatted for episode 389. So if you want to hear the whole episode, go find it, jamieivey.com/HH389. Elizabeth's book, Good Apple, came out in January.
It did.
And we talked all about it. Tales of a Southern Evangelical in New York. Mm-hmm. All right, so you grew up in Memphis.
Yep.
Have lived in New York City longer than you lived in Memphis.
22 years.
Okay, I want to ask you a question real quick because a lot of people, especially in the South, think New York City is like the scariest, most God-forsaken land that there is in America.
It is. The end. No, it's not.
How have you found the opposite to be true?
Oh, wow. Well, the thing about New York, first of all, is that you are never alone. We were on the streets of Austin last night after a wonderful dinner, and we were waiting for our Lyft to take us back to our hotel. And again, it's a Sunday night, but it's empty. And my husband turned to me and he said, I feel less safe. I know Austin's a very safe city. He was just making a point that when you're alone and it's sort of the streets are empty, it feels more eerie.
Yeah.
New York City, you're never alone. There's constantly people all around the street. So I always feel very safe because I never feel isolated. I never feel like I'm in the alley with nobody there. It always feels like there's neighbors and community and people walking around the streets. Also, I just think it's a great place to raise kids. There are lots of other kids. When you go to the playground in New York, you're constantly going to be running into people in your neighborhood, friends from school. It's always crowded. There's always a friend to make or to see, which is great. And there's a lot of Christians in New York, guys. A lot of us. Lots of churches, lots of Christians running around. So I think you just have a lot of everything in New York.
I also imagine that New York is very celebrity friendly. And so I imagine walking down the street and always running into, I don't know.
All the time.
Jimmy Fallon.
Okay, I've never run into Jimmy Fallon.
Does he live in the city? Probably not.
Jimmy Fallon, I think, lives out in the Hamptons. I think
does.
You know why? Because my mom just sent me the real estate listing for his apartment in the city that I think they're selling.
Oh, that you guys are looking into buying.
Yeah, we're looking. It's like a cool 32 mil. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
We need a little more space. But I do run into people like Tina Fey lives on the Upper West Side. I have seen her walking around. I see New Kid on the Block. Were you a New Kid on the Block fan?
Yeah.
Okay, Joey McIntyre lives
Joey,
on
who
the Upper
didn't
West
love
Side.
Joey?
And he's around. I mean, Joey rides the subway. Joey is not too cool for school. He is in the park riding his bike. He is walking his kids to school. And so I feel like I run into Joey McIntyre
friendly where no one's taking pictures of Joey McIntyre.
Yeah, people don't really care in New York. People leave you alone.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, the last thing I want to ask you is I told it to you there. I'll say it to you again. And I feel like it's like a memoir. It's funny, interesting. And you are a Christian.
Yes.
And you weave Jesus throughout this, but this is not like a Jesus loving talk about the Bible book.
Yes.
And that seems to be how you live your life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How would you say your non-Christian friends have reacted to your words?
Oh, they have loved it. Now they're my friends, so I think they kind of have to love it.
Yeah.
But no, I have heard from even people that are not good friends. I've heard from a lot of people who are not Christians or are, were in the church but have fallen away from the church, haven't been a long time, or given it to non-believing friends. These are just really stories of my life. They're funny stories about my life. Obviously, I am a Christian, so I weave in sort of how I look at certain situations or certain challenges through the lens of my faith. But I love my favorite Amazon review, and I don't read all of them because some of them are mean, but I do read some. And there was one that was great that said something along the lines of, she talks about Jesus, but she doesn't make it hard, or she doesn't make it seem like school, or she doesn't make it preachy. And I forget the exact wording, but that's the vibe I'm going for. That I talk about my life, I talk about the Lord, but it is primarily funny stories about my life.
That is the vibe that you got.
Great.
That's the vibe that I got.
That's what I'm going for.
That's the vibe you were putting out.
Yes.
Which, speaking of putting out, over on the podcast. Did you like that?
That was good segue.
That was like a Jimmy Fallon segue.
We did not practice that.
We did not practice that.
No. That was excellent.
Over on the podcast, we talk about your book a lot. We talk about being raised in a family where your dad was Jewish. We talk about death. We talk about funny stories about your kids. We talk about sex. We talk about parenthood.
Yes.
God, we
covered a lot of ground.
That's why we call my show The Happy Hour, because we sit down and we talk about it all.
Yes.
Which is what we're doing.
And we weren't drinking.
No, there was no drinks involved. So
we still talk about all that stuff.
So great. If you want to hear the whole interview, check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. If you get them on Apple, Spotify, I don't care where you get your podcasts, just look up The Happy Hour, episode 389, and you will find myself and Elizabeth chatting about her book. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.